Hello, everybody. Welcome to the pod. Christian Joy here. This is your first episode listening to See Joy and Expand. Nice to have you here. Um, I'm doing this thing lately that I started from episode 13 or 14 of walking and pod recording because it just feels really good and natural to have it's like I've noticed after pod recording while walking at the same time, like my personality is really coming through and I'm really enjoying doing it this way. And I'm going to capitalize on my energy the way it wants to come through because I don't know when it's ever going to change. I'm a manifesting generator in human design. My energy goes all over the place. So right now I'm in this zone of where my energy wants to walk and pod record at the same time. I feel like stagnant and sticky and stuck, or I don't know, like when I'm just sitting still in place for a long time recording for the pod, when I'm in my room, it just feels like I'm forcing it and the words just doesn't want to come through. If you ever had that experience or know what I'm talking about. So I'm really enjoying this experience. And real time, me going with the ease and flow of the way my body wants to engage in whatever I'm engaging in. And this happens to be podcast recording. But, oh, and also, so what's bringing me joy and into um, recording for the pod, I always like voice note people when I go for my walks, which is a lot of fun for me. I love talking to my friends, and I'm just like, ooh, I just talk to my friends. And I'm like, "Ugh, my energy feels so good right now. Like, I could totally record a pod episode and like be in this energy and share it with you guys. So excited. And it really feels like talking to friends now. Like, instead of like thinking that I'm like, oh, this is my topic that I need to say and this is how I need to lay out information to people. Totally not my vibe, not my energy. Some people are really good at it. I am not that person. So if you ever are wondering, like, if you're a person who wants to write or share your voice, your social media video, whatever your platform or media it is, like, play with it, engage in it in different ways, and see what happens. Everybody, like, like their energy comes through differently in different ways, and it's all practice in the end. Like, I'm realizing my experience with Substack. I started two Substacks this year, and one is a group one, and one is my Substack. And I'm realizing a lot of the thoughts that want to come through in my mind on Substack. It's like it's giving me a practice or lending me a space to organize my thoughts and what I believe. Like, how do I want to convey that what I know is true inside my soul and my heart into words? And then I lay it all out in the Substack, and I was like, huh, that feels really good. It's coming out really nicely. This is like a thought that tracks, it makes sense. And now that I've done it through written word, I can do that. It feels like easier once I'm ready to record. So finding the easiest way for me to do things, because gone are the days of doing things the hard way or the way that other people um, say you should do it. Um, and it goes back to my coaching stuff. I'm always like into what is the best way for you, because you're the one who has to live in that body and experience and do all the things with your own body, with your own feelings, with your limited or unlimited energy. And only you know what that is. So And I honor that for myself, so I honor that for others. So much fun. I had a coaching session with a client this morning, and this is my client who's like, I like to use, like, what is your goal? Like, what is this feeling you want instead as you achieve your goals? And usually, like, love, compassion, connection, blah, blah, blah. And hers, because she's like 18, her vibe is blue jeans because she's like, I don't have another word for this, but blue jeans describes how I feel. And I was like, I freaking love that. Like, we didn't even need the word. We didn't even need the the whole description. She's like, that is my word that makes me feel like all the things. Like, she gave out a description of how she wanted to feel instead. And she's an Aries, so she's like, I want to, like, she's like a shining rainbow of joy and light, and she wants to take action and do all the things, and she's so adorable at 18. She's like, I'm like 18, I want to get my driver's license, I want to start working, I want to get my own apartment, and blah, 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 like go to school. I was like so proud of her. And all she needed was a little guidance, like how to engage with her insights so that she can move forward in more clarity. And we've been only coaching for, I feel like, maybe only 2 months. And she's like making great strides. Like, she's making moves. She already knows what date, like when she wants to get this all done. She's like 2026. She's like, I want to get my goals. Like, I want to achieve my goals. I want to manifest my goals. That was her verbiage. If you don't resonate with manifestation, it's okay. Use your own word. Like, achieve your goals or whatever. Manifestation always sounds fun and magical. So I promote using a word that feels fun and magical to you. And I was like, wow, I really have I have a lot of hope for this new generation. They just need tools and resources. They're so smart, so educated. They know a lot about mental health. They know a lot of fucking things. The missing piece to, because I know this is a missing piece, not just for their generation, but all the generations, because even the older generations find themselves in this place, especially especially as you grow older, is that taking action, taking action on new things, taking action, like when you've never done something. So let's like take it into like the generational lumps, groups of people. If you are the older person who decided to go do the 9 to 5, have the long-term career with the stability, and then all of a sudden retire at age like between 60 and 70. Like, I know people who haven't retired yet, and I'm like, that's insane. But if that makes you happy. And it's like they haven't, I notice, like, when you have something you devote your time to all your life, i.e. work, this career, and maybe it's not even a career that lights you up. Maybe it's just like this thing that makes ends meet. And then to decompress, you're decompressing on the weekends. And you're doing all the things maybe everybody's like, oh, you should go do this, go hang out with us, but never really exploring your interests. I know some people do that. Majority of people, at least I know in my circles, in my culture, they don't engage in exploring their interests because that was like a muscle that they didn't ever use as a child. And that was like my favorite thing when I was raising my child, is letting letting her explore all of her interests as she was growing up, because I didn't have that luxury growing up. I wasn't shown how to do that. Not like I'm mad at my parents or anything. That's just what it was. That's just what happened, how my life unfolded. And you're retiring at 70, and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what to do with my time. Do I go gambling at the casino? Uh, Maybe I'll go play golf, or maybe you like golf, maybe you like gambling at a casino. But what if there was something else you could have done? What if what what it was like starting a new hobby, that thing that you always wanted to do your whole life, but that whole time you spent from, say, age 20 when you started your career to age 70, you didn't develop the skills for learning how to mistakes and start new things. And now you're at 70 when these kids in their late teens and 20s, this generation, they're learning how to start now. They're not, they know that the 9 to 5 route is not for them. Like they're in their experimentation phase, and they're learning to start right now, and they have the muscle for it now. They have the muscle for openness and newness and exploration. And then you're at 70, and if you subscribe to the narrative that you're too old to learn new things, that might actually end up being your truth. And I personally don't subscribe to that narrative. I'm not 70 years old, so, and I'm not a person who is 70 years old at this time. So I'm laying myself right now, my foundations, as I'm 40 now. I just celebrated my 40th birthday. Happy birthday, me! I'm laying my foundations now so that when I am 70 years old and ready to retire, which I don't think I will because I love working, quote unquote, but not working like in the traditional sense. I want to keep busy. I want to keep putting things together and seeing what works, coming to new insights and sharing it with other people and helping other people evolve. And that's basically what my work is now. I'm laying the foundation for my future self, my 70-year-old me, and with my goals and aspirations. I want to be, so I have this thing on social media, how I make social media work for me is because we all know at this point, and if you don't know, you're going to know now, is that we're always being marketed to, especially on social media, unconsciously. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to engage in social media, how do I want to be marketed to become the person that I want to be? What is my goal? What do I want to strive for? And I follow a bunch of accounts with older people who used to be like, they may have started lifting like when they were 50 something, and they're like badass like weightlifters. I'm just like, wow, that's like totally possible, because my parents like my whole life told me that wasn't possible. And no shade on them. That was just like the story I was working with. Whatever you got going on, it's just a story that you're working with, and wherever you want to go, the story is just the challenges you have to overcome. That's all it is. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple. And so, yeah, I follow a bunch of people on social media of like, who is it that I want to be? Who do I want to see that makes me believe that that is a future that is possible for me? And they may not look like you. They may look like you. If they look like you, even better, because it really makes your nervous system feel like, oh, that's someone that's like me from my culture, my background, who looks like me, then this is possible for me. This comes from the whole research from like when somebody breaks like a world record, then 10 other people in other parts of the world end up breaking that record too because they saw their brain, their nervous system saw what's possible. And that's just how our brains work. And I'm all about working with our bodies the best way to, let's see, not the best way. How do we work with our bodies the best to create the outcomes that we want, but like not, and work with, operative word, work with, how do we work with our bodies instead of making it be something that it's not? There's this really cool stat that I love because I was like, ugh, this like supports how I have been my whole life knowing this stat. And if you haven't heard an early episode, I identify as undiagnosed ADHD. I don't have the hyperactive necessarily, but I do have hyperactive thoughts at times. And um, so to learn something new, it takes 400 repetitions to learn that new thing. And you're like, fuck, 400? Like, I have to practice this new habit 400 fucking times just so I can do it. That's where the 60-day rule comes from, or whatever that rule is to build a new habit. That's where it fucking comes from. Um, well, honestly, I don't know where it comes from, but that feels like where it comes from. TBH. And so, but through play, it only takes 10 to 20 repetitions. And when I heard that, I was like, holy guacamole. What the fucking fuck? This supports the way I've always been in school. Like why I couldn't ever pay attention. Or why it just felt like so draining or so like forceful to make myself learn. And when and it like brings me back to like me like learning to snowboard when I was 33. It was something that was really exciting and different that I've never done before, but I was like, ooh, and I love the cold. And when you're moving around in the winter, it doesn't feel cold because if you're moving around, you're like, it's like creating your own body heat. You're like, yes, like I love this. I'm flying down the mountain, the best. I highly recommend. And through that experience, I realized there's a lot of elderly people who ski and snowboard. And I was like, like, I always like whenever somebody tells me they're too old to do something, I'm like, fuck off. I see people on the mountain all the time who are fucking old, and I love it. They're so like, I was like, yes, that's gonna be me. When I see them in real life, I'm like, that's gonna be me. Oh, and like back to the other day when I was actually this was yesterday when I went to the gym. I was like, yes, I'm really like gung ho, feeling super motivated. I've been not working out for or active or mobile really like I didn't even walk for like a week and I'm like feeling very like stiff. And not to shit on myself for letting myself go that long for like not being active. And honestly, that's like my brain saying, oh, you didn't do shit for the last week. When honestly, if I did look back and I do keep a track of what I do every day, I was like, oh, I did go to the gym the day before Thanksgiving. Oh, we did walk to the park with the kids on Saturday. Like, you're like, give yourself a way to track your progress, to track what you do in a day, and you'll realize you actually do a lot of things. And your brain's just like, Your brain is a mechanism that works off of negativity to keep you safe. That's just how it works. Neuroscience. It wants you to believe a negative narrative to keep you in past patterns because the brain is a predictive organ. It only wants you to do what it knows so that it can keep you safe. And that's all it's ever doing. It it has a purpose. It's not out to get you. The brain's not out to get you. It and if you let it, you could potentially use it for superpower potential. And I feel like that's how this whole year has been, is coming to the possibility or understanding the possibility in me, in my potential. And that was like the big thing about leaving nursing, leaving bedside, because I wanted to see what was possible for me. I worked in the hospital. I saw the hospital walls since I was 15. Like I started volunteering, and then at 19 I started working um, in the hospital unit as a secretary and monitor tech when I was 19, and I kept doing that. I kept working in a hospital since like for fucking ever. The hospital setting until March earlier this year. What the fucking fuck? Like, I literally don't know a world of possibility. My world was hospital. Uh, man. Like, truly a bubble. So, that being said, one of the things I wanted to talk about hopping on here is, um, I don't know why I'm into current events these days. Um, but it's just been a thing for me lately. And I get really introspective and like wondering what is the meaning for this for myself? What did I need to learn from this? And current events will do that for you. Like you don't have to do that from your personal life, but your personal life will do that for you too. But like as what I don't even remember what the saying goes. Like as is the macro or so I don't remember what it is. There's a whole say I can't remember. I'll put it in the show notes. There's so like as above, so below. I think that's one of them. That's I'll use that one. That was the easiest one I could remember at this moment. And so you can learn from literally everything. And when you're going and when you're going about your day or going about stepping into new and different ways of being, you are going to make mistakes. And if you're scared of making mistakes, or you're not scared of successes, they're both the fucking same. You learn from each thing, and each one is valuable because you'll learn what works for you and what doesn't. That's all it is. Take it back objectively. Like, take a step back, look at it objectively. When I remove the story that like circulates in my mind about this thing, all it is that this is an event that I'm learning from, and how can I be better next time? Oh, current events. I was like, I know there was something I wanted to talk about before that. So I wrote a Substack on this because I was just like, I have to. I couldn't help it. Like, there's something interesting going on in the collective about this, and it kind of it. I had like a spiritual like inner conflict, but I saw something really interesting happen in the collective at the same time. So I'm talking about the murder of the United Healthcare CEO. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. And something weird happened online, and everybody was just like, like, yay, stick it to the man. And I was like, and from like all sides, and I was like, this is really interesting, especially after we had such a divisive election just last month. And everybody's noticing it too. My inner conflict is, are we like collectively celebrating the death of a human? What the fuck? My humanitarian side. And I was like, that's makes me feel really weird inside. That doesn't feel great for me. Like, and a lot of thoughts go to like, well, how do we hold, like, how do we not surrender to the idea of death is a thing, a part of life? And albeit, like, not albeit, but like, the the nature in which he passed away wasn't a great way to go, but death is a part of life. And like, I don't know. I still haven't like really figured out what I want to believe on this situation. But it just reminds me that like when I read his manifesto, there's a manifesto that's circulating online. There's like two of them, but one is longer than the other. I read the longer one that details his mother's illness, his health history, and this is what I wanted to talk about actually, is that I can understand why he did it. And when you see, like, hear people's stories and hear other points of view, you can certainly put your feet in other people's shoes and see why other people do the thing. And since I'm like, it hits close to home because it's like about healthcare, is that I I saw pictures, clips of moments of people's experiences in their lives through the hospital lens and how unempowering it is to experience the hospital experience. And I went to school, became a nurse, and I didn't go to work thinking I was doing it to harm people. I was doing it to help people. And by what I learned, I was doing right by other people, right by like what I know is right, the right way to take care of somebody. And like the allopathic medicine is, it feels like it's like a band-aid to me. It's not a, it's a band-aid to health problems. And then you got the added part of how insurance companies dictate the way medicine is practiced, which is fucking like when I figured that out, I don't think I figured that out until like my earlier mid 30s. I was like, isn't this ethically wrong? When I understood that, I think it was in the 2010s when I figured that out. And I was just like, what the fuck? This is like, this doesn't make sense to me. They're not people with medical degrees. This entity that does the whole like economic, like the financial aspect of it. And I don't like, it's just, I don't know. I don't even know what I wanted to say about it. I just know I just wanted to say it out loud. Like, the system is broken. The system, like, I can see why he did it. He was suffering. his mom was suffering for many years since he was a child, and they suffered for many, many, many years. And this is a potty about spiritual a spiritual lens on things. And for me, I like this is why I tend to err on the side of, not err, but lean on the side of doing new and different things, thinking outside of the box. Medicine does not, Western medicine, allopathic medicine does not think outside of the box, at least in institutions where they are not like a teaching entity, or they do research. There's no thinking outside of the box. And a lot of ways, like the ways that medicine is provided, it doesn't, like in this old patriarchy paradigm, medicine doesn't evolve in the hospital very long. And like over time, like things are done the same way for decades. And there's so much science and research that's forced different ways to do things. And the system as it stands right now, which is falling apart, frankly, it's not surviving the way it can't survive the way it is, because it doesn't know how to change or evolve with the way the collective is that it's not sustainable. It's not going to be able to keep going the path it's going. So, and granted, medicine has its uses in emergency scenarios and other scenarios. I couldn't detail it. There is someone out there who's going to say, well, medicine benefit me. Great, beautiful. Because I'm only one lens on truth, and I only see it from this perspective, because I haven't seen representation where the Western medicine system has aided in somebody in a positive way, in a long-term positive way. And you might be like, Christian, wow, like your career must have been really dark. And honestly, like last hospital I worked for, I actually was like one of the best hospitals I've ever worked for. And they were abreast of more like newer technology, but still, like when I look at it, I was like, this isn't for me. Like every time I see my patients, they look like science experiments. Like, this is insane. So I'm like, my world is opening up to now. I'm like walking on the path of how can we do things differently? And I shared on an earlier episode, I'm more curious about other remedies, like remedies that are closer to the way my ancestors like cared for themselves. I am really drawn to that right now. Anywho, I hope that last part made sense. I haven't had like really solid thoughts on it, but just a bunch of snippets of thoughts from my experience. Take what resonates always. And if you like my episode, or if you didn't, you have to leave a review. I'm sorry if you hated it. But if you did like it, leave a 5-star review, please. And maybe you could reach somebody who would benefit from the words that I share from their lens. You might have a lens who doesn't benefit from the words I'm sharing. So if you are the person who didn't benefit from the words I'm saying, Please don't. You don't have to review. And if you did benefit, no pressure. You don't have to review either. But if you feel wholeheartedly in your heart of hearts that this episode helped you, share. Long way of saying do whatever fuck you want. And yeah, I think I'm gonna be doing this for the next few episodes. I had this plan of like doing a bunch of solo episodes in December and then resume my um my episodes with other people, my interviews. I have some great interviews that are coming up, and I love you guys. Thank you. Bye.